All right, go for it.
Good morning, everyone, and I'm sorry for the late start. Had some little bit of technical issues on the computer side. Then on the simian side as well, I went to sleep extremely late, and my alarm didn't even go off. So I'm just sipping my dark roast with a head full of haziness, and my main man CJ, the master of the flux capacitor, is doing what he can to make sure that this broadcast is coming out crispy and clean. You can follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money. Check us out on our website, roguemoney.net, and Rogue Money on Facebook, DTube, Steam It, Rogue Money on every single podcasting app known to mankind. We are everywhere you want us to be. With that being said, CJ, also check out our sponsors, myfreedomnow.us. Whether you need money, whether you need credit, whether you need to get out of debt, myfreedomnow.us is the one-stop shop to get your financial life in order. No matter if your finances are screwed up, or you just need a leg up, or you just need a leverage up, myfreedomnow.us, and check out mygoldusb.com. MyGoldUSB.com, surf the internet in total anonymity. The only way the NSA is going to find out what the heck you're doing is if they're actually sitting right next to you. MyGoldUSB.com. That all out of the way. CJ, what's going on?
Hey V, good morning. It's Friday. It's the weekend's here. It's time to get fired up.
Oh, yes, it is. The weekend is here, my friend. This another week bites the dust in a blur of activity and events. I mean, Siege, where do we begin, man? There's a lot of things going on. I hear there's another hurricane forming out called Hurricane Irma. Irma, she's supposed to be a savage beast, CJ.
Savage beast, savage.
An absolute savage beast. It's supposed to be a Category 4. American models see her going up the East Coast. European models have her hitting the Gulf Coast yet again. We shall see, my friend.
Yeah, just real quick, V, if you don't mind, before we start, I want to a lot of people have been asking a lot of questions in regards to Steam It. So in regards to how to get there, how it works and everything. So real quick, so I brought up the screen share. Can you see that, V? Am I presenting to everyone? Do you see it as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah. So just for our listeners, know, so Steam It is a great platform, not only for content, but also to help us as well. So if you have not joined the Steam It community, please do so. I've been pushing as far as our replays, getting them uploaded. The real nice thing is when I post a DTube, it automatically syncs there. And the really cool thing about Steam It is that once you join, okay, make sure that you join with the name that you want, because this is built on the blockchain, so there's no going back. You cannot delete any posts. You cannot change your username, and your password is like, what V do you call the encryption? 1024 encryption? Is that what you call the MyGold
Yeah,
USB?
it's like beast mode grade.
Yeah, so
Gorilla grade password
exactly. So
man.
Steam It is the same way. So if you lose your password for Steam It, you got to create a new account, which is even hard to do. So do not lose your password for Steam It.
Yeah,
and
it's like your Bitcoin wallet, because they pay you out of it. That's why they don't want you to lose it.
Boom, exactly. Yeah. So not only can you get paid, so if you're a blogger, or if you thought about blogging, or if you thought about doing your own content as far as any podcast or anything, Steam It can help. So join Steam It. And then when you see our post on Rogue Money, you can see we built a nice little following. We got 501 followers, which, it's been less than a year on Steam. Well, August, so a little over a year. But make sure when you see our content that you can upvote, and then you can also what they call re-steam. And when you do those things, you help Rogue Money. Again, as we try to push away from the massive overreach of YouTube, Google, all the censoring that's occurring. So a lot of people have been asking about Steam It, what it is, how it works. So go join the Steam It community. It's a great thing. It's very disruptive to Facebook and many other platforms. So I just want to take a moment and go over that, V.
Yeah, great plug, man. The whole thing is screw Facebook. I hate Zuckerberg. I hate him. I cannot stand the way he looks. He looks like a douchebag. Douchebaggery is emanating out of him as he's walking around like a clueless. I mean, the guy has a personality of an eggplant. I'm telling you, the guy has a personality of an eggplant.
And even scarier, he has political aspirations. So Just
Yeah, it shows you how much of an idiot he is, and there's no doubt that the CIA did in fact build this company because um, the friggin' political experts that he's surrounding himself with were all former Hillary Clinton acolytes, and we know how that went.
right,
He's
right.
surrounding himself with losers.
Yeah, well, think about it. Think of pitching to investors and the money that they would raise, going up and saying, "Hey, we have this social platform that we think is going to do well. We don't produce anything. We're gaining a bunch of college followers that typically don't have a lot of money to spend. We think we might get some advertisers, but we're not quite certain yet." And
Exactly.
so building things like this doesn't come with chump change. You definitely have to have either some Amazon deep state money flowing your way or other means of building these platforms when you truly don't produce anything other than just robbing people's time of posting great things and everything, which in Facebook, that's what it is. They're monetizing our work that we're putting on their social platform. Steam it is completely opposite.
Yep. Yep. Exactly, man. So, absolutely, and well said, my friend. Well said. So, where do we begin, Siege? Where do we begin? Let's let's
It's
talk
up to you.
about.
I mean, you go ahead.
Good. I don't know. We start with the decentralizing and the dismantling of establishment and the way things are. I guess we'll start off with Russia, then get into Bitcoin and everything else, buddy.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, this is something that if you think about, American exceptionalism and what that used to mean, and once you take the red pill, you could actually, argue that, through the stage of the history of the U.S., what that truly meant, right? So, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, the distance, the direction that we have gone as a country. And now you take a look in terms of where our current state is, and you take a look at the mass intervention that's occurred the last decade. Our efforts to stabilize and to keep the petrodollar, and our ability to try to influence the others, and at the false of spreading democracy. Oh yeah, if you don't support our troops, you don't support democracy. All these things. It's just amazing that if you think about the actions that have occurred with Syria, and the reason why I use Syria, because it is the only to-date largest example of what is the largest paradigm shift that has triggered a massive shift away from American influence to Russia and China. And so when you think of that, and then you multiply that by the amount of things that we tried to do with Russia, the sanctions, the putting troops on their border, with Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the amount of influence Russia has now across the globe, whether it's Turkey, whether it's Iran, whether it's the Saudis.
Yep.
There's a huge shift that's occurring, away from the end of an American empire.
Absolutely, man. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's such respect Russia has. Their economy has performed wonderfully even under sanctions. I remember at the end of 2016, their stock market was one of the best performing stock markets. Their currency, one of the best performing currencies. They're leading the charge in de-dollarization. They're helping to completely augment and as well as put together the finishing touches on the new Silk Road. So many things, so many positive things that are happening within Russia, within the greater world, and what they want. I mean, they're very, very open about what they want. They want a multipolar world. They want a world where nations could transact freely. There's no exploitation. And an exploitation fee, and this is what China wants as well. They are not exploiting anybody. China and Russia are not exploiting anybody. There's no economic hitmen from China and Russia, CJ, that are traveling throughout the world, knocking off leaders, assassinating, overthrowing, making them sign, you know, um, absolutely ridiculous and untoward loan packages from the IMF that poor nations have no ability of paying back. Russia and China ain't doing that. Well, what the hell have we been doing? Well, we've been overthrowing over 30, almost close to 40 democratically elected governments throughout the world and instilling puppet regimes. That's what we do. That is why Pepe Escobar so aptly calls us Empire Chaos. He's so absolutely, he's the one who coined the term Exceptionalistan, which I love. Because that's exactly what we are. We are a stan. And what do I mean by a stan? What does he mean by a stan? I'll tell you what a stan means. If you look at all the stan countries, they all got problems. They're all failed states. They're all third world. They're all despotic. That's what I'm talking about with these stan nations, mostly stan nations. Afghanistan, Pakistan. Do you get what I'm saying? Exceptionalistan.
Yep.
That's what we are. We're no better. Except with us, we drape ourselves in patriotism. We drape ourselves with the flag. If anybody's going to come up to me and says, "Hey, man, you don't support the troops? They're fighting for our freedom," I'm going to punch them in the jaw. It's getting to that point. It's getting to that point. I mean, can we grow up already? Can we grow up? I'm waiting for a military guy to come up to me and be like, "Hey, man, I do what I do so you can have the freedom that you do." No, you moron. You are fighting for corporate interests. Do you understand? Do you understand that they are pumping you with experimental vaccines where it can even affect the ability of you even having children in the future? Do you understand, moron? Do you understand that you are about to lose your life, maybe your limb, maybe you're about to get brain damage, your life will be altered completely, fighting wars for corporations? You're not doing jack shit for freedom, my friend. You're not doing anything for spreading freedom or democracy. Can we get away from the marketing material? This is the problem with America, bro. Okay? We are stuck. We are stuck in some sort of an adolescent, almost like a childlike mentality. It is childlike. Okay? I've never seen people act the way they do. And I've seen people from all over the world. I've seen protests world over. I've seen people react to world leaders world over. I don't see the type of immature behavior that we see from our population. I've never seen it before. And I'm not talking about those who are conservative and libertarian who have carried themselves dignified. I'm talking about, look at these left-wing nutjobs, the Pantifas out there. Look at these leftist communist revolutionaries, these young millennials, most of them, not all of them, most of them are a waste of space. Most of them should be taken to an animal shelter and be humanely put to sleep. But hey, if I say that, I sound like Hitler. So let me take back what I said. But what I mean by that, and I'm being metaphorical here, not literal, is that they're literally out of touch, CJ. And because we have such an immature, childlike, easily manipulatable, easily malleable culture that has no intelligence, really. Critical thinking is becoming less and less in this country. We are becoming so dumbed down, we cannot look at geopolitics correctly. We can't even look at our own history correctly because idiots are out there knocking down statues. How are we going to save this country if it goes like this, bro? How?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, as much as the work that we do, the work that our fans do with trying to shake people, right? To shake people to wake them up to say, hey, listen, do you not understand what the world truly is around you? And unfortunately, V, there's a lot of people that live in this space that if it doesn't directly impact them, then they don't necessarily care. They don't get involved. It's until something directly changes or something happens to them that they truly evolve to where we are with understanding of what's happening. And it's truly sad, B. And I'm not at the stage where I'm saying I'm either giving up or trying to wake more people up, because I don't think that effort is truly ever lost. However, I'm not going to spend all the energy. I'm going to take a look at what I can do for my family, my friends, our audience, to continue sharing that message, because in part there's so many people who are still, so plugged into the system. V, they're so plugged into the mainstream media. They're so plugged into that we need a big government. We need government that's going to take care of people. We need all this. Comes a time, V, where you can't change that, and you can't hope for it. But what you can do is internally is to believe in your faith, believe in your the faith in your family, to understand that you have to align your family to ensure that no matter what happens, no matter what happens, that as long as you have that faith, you have that belief in God, that everything's going to be okay. So internally, taking care of your family, aligning everything there, getting it right within your household, and then focusing on some efforts externally, because there's a lot of people who are still stuck in this mind frame. There's some people that are still willing
Right.
to die for this paradigm, that in the event that we see a major shift away from the U.S. dollar, away from U.S. influence, there's so many people that are willing to fight to keep that alive. They're not going to change.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly correct, man. They're not willing to change, and we need to move on, man. We need to move on. It really is. It's late in the game now, Siege. It's really late in the game, bro.
Yeah, it's the 11th hour, and there's a lot of things occurring, that I think that we were giving an opportunity to return back to a God-fearing, a Christian nation, a nation that some perfect examples is the catastrophe, the events in Houston. It's been truly, to a lot of people, an awakening of seeing a lot of good deeds. You and Gus talked about it, yesterday. Black families, carrying white families out, white families helping, but just the true meaning of humanity, and what it's about, of being there for your brothers and your sisters, regardless of color, of background, of political beliefs. All those things that at the end of the day don't truly matter. So there are some signs giving us some examples of truly how things should work, and it's up to us to embrace those. Whether other people are going to still continue this, this internal fight, this internal belief that the federal government's going to some way just change overnight and wake up and say, yeah, we've been wrong this whole time. It's not going to happen, because their belief system is built around greed, corruption, and protecting to keep things the way that they are, and not changing, doing the massive change that needs to take place for our country.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. With that being said, CJ, Bitcoin is on the move and it's smashing records, my friend. Smashing records. It has punched out in the face PayPal. It has uppercutted Netflix. It has kicked in the gonads Morgan Stanley's market cap, my friend. Onward and upward it goes. Where it stops, only Cliff High knows. That's exciting news. So a lot of people who still don't get it, like our friends across the aisle, our fellow gold bugs, who I'm trying to tell them, guys, it's okay. Come with us. Come, it's okay. Come, it's all right. Giving them a little dare there. I'm calling my buddy Peter Schiff over, and just gently petting Peter on the back of his head and telling him, it's okay, Pete. It's all right. Come on. Bitcoin's okay. It's not a cryptocurrency that's printed to infinity. It's all right. In fact, it's actually modeled on gold. Totally okay. It's not in a bubble, because the utilization is there, buddy. It's all right. Come on. It's a beautiful world. Let's be pragmatic. Let's use what we have, because there's only few exploits that we, the American public, has. Utilize it. And if the Bitcoin was going to be hitting over 4,800 today, that's too high for you. Get into Bitcoin Cash. That's too high for you. Get into Zcash. Get into Monero. Get into Populous. Get into Ripple. I mean, my God, it goes on and on and on. I mean, get into anything until I launch the banana-backed Gorilla Coin, which is going to take over the entire banana and dark roast industry world over. Next news: resist this and resist it everywhere in every precinct. There is no need for the militarization of police, CJ. We have once again, okay? I don't know what it is with Reefer Madness. Reefer Madness, Jeff Sessions, that's his name. I'm going to call him Reefer Madness over there. Jeff the Reefer Madness Sessions, the man who's obsessed with ending marijuana, the man who's obsessed with ratcheting up the drug war because it's been so successful the last 30, 40 years. Reefer Madness, Jeff Sessions, I finally figured him out. I finally pegged him. He has a Sheriff Andy Griffith fantasies, but in a very militaristic kind of way. Okay? Jeff Sessions has said this. Well, what did he say? Earlier this week, Jeff Sessions bringing back the Defense Department's 1033 program, which helped militarize the local police with surplus military equipment. And, the 1033 program has been a disaster. Okay? There's been books written about the program. The previous ban put on 1033 put a fairly narrow limit on the practice of militarizing police, but now even those modest limits are gone. What's truly incredible, however, is the complete nonsense being used to justify this. Attorney General Jeff the Reefer Madness Sessions gave a speech about this on Monday in which he this is beyond me. He trotted out his standard typical Reefer Madness, misleading, out of context, old hat, obsolete paradigm, falsely claiming that there's some new massive crime wave across the country, when in fact there really isn't. Crime's been dropping coast to coast, except in the most libtard of areas. Maybe instead of rolling out militarized police, why don't you just cut the welfare? How about that? How about that? How about everybody? How about we if it was up to me, I'd sterilize some of these people in the inner city. But hey, that's just me.
Right.
Instead of having like 15 kids. How about after your third kid and we're putting you on the dole, we just sterilize you so you don't have another 3 more from 3 different baby daddies, and you don't know who and then you put them on the dole, and now we're cutting welfare checks for them. How about we just stop that nonsense real quick? Now, when there's really been a tiny bump after decades in decline of crime, okay, so even after a little tiny bump, the usual typical Jeff Sessions way of creating, there's crime and there's violence directed towards police. I've never expected him. What he's doing right now, buddy, is this. He points to the impact of Hurricane Harvey. And he says this, that is a perfect reason why the police should be militarized. And he said this, those restrictions went too far. What is he talking about? The 1033 restrictions. We will not put a superficial concern above public safety. All y'all need to do is turn on a TV right now to see that the Houstonians, this isn't about appearances. It's about getting the job done and getting everyone to safety. Now, I read that statement. I said, wait a minute. Jeff, what the F are you talking about? Jeff, you've lost your mind? Are you out of your gourd? Law enforcement in Houston needs military equipment to save people, CJ. Did you hear of such a thing, CJ?
Yeah.
Now, that's what I've seen. I thought it was the Cajun Navy. Here we are just yesterday with Cuss with Gus, with the glorious golden-naved Gus, who was cussing and describing in glorious detail how it was people, like black people, white people, Hispanic people, of all colors, Americans, coming together to rescue individuals, right? Did you see a police tank? How good do police tanks do in the flood, CJ? These police armored personnel vehicles.
They didn't do too well, V. Did you see the redneck big 4x4 that pulled out the military?
Yep. This Cadillac Escalade monster truck on like 50-inch wheels, mud bogger tires, pulling out a military grade National Guard truck. I mean, heavy duty truck, pulling it right out of the bog. So these heavy ass. How does this help anybody? Okay, it doesn't help anybody except this. Number one, what happens is this. Okay, this is the funniest thing about militarizing police, and nobody talks about the economics of this, CJ. And I'm gonna break it down. I saw people like, oh my God, it's gonna be used to go after civil liberties, this, that, and the other. No, we don't have a federalized police force. So a lot of these state and local governments have to do it out of their own budgets. So they're buying these ridiculously expensive $300,000, $400,000, armored personnel carriers on the used car lot. Okay, from the DoD. And then these vehicles, my man, are so expensive to gas. What happened in the last time a lot of local police municipalities try to get these quote unquote tanks, they can't even afford to gas them. They would turn these things on, bum, 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 and they see the gas gauge go down. They couldn't afford to run them. So Jeff, this is the most stupidest thing. It makes no sense to me, and it also fits perfectly into his mentality, his angst against marijuana and cannabis. Sessions, I'm done with you. Anyway, what's your take, buddy?
The whole thing in regards to the police state, and you take a look at the UN's Agenda 2030, because it's been revised, and it's what they call the Safe Cities Initiative. So Sessions it's a playbook right out of that globalist agenda that we need a federalized police force. So get the equipment there in advance, get the federal police force in place to help run the equipment, teach them. We don't need this. The best police forces, are the local police that have the pulse, of the community, that volunteer, that support their local schools, do awareness campaigns, participate in local activities. It's like any other industry, right, V? I mean, there's good cops, there's bad cops, I'm sure that there are a couple of good politicians that are far and few in between, and there's bad. So it's not like one of those things where you just have to say that just because you're in this book of business that everyone's good, right? It just doesn't exist that way. But to take this approach to say that we have to provide all this military equipment to the local police force. It's just one of those things that you take. It just doesn't make any sense in terms of exactly what you said, the economics of it. So, yeah. and again, if you take a look, the best equipped local communities are those that do have local people that get involved, citizens that get involved. And Houston is a perfect example of that, where you saw a direct impact of, what's that Navy again called? The
Cajun Navy.
The Cajun Navy said, you know what, we're here for a reason. Let's get our boats out there. Let's go to action. It's one of the things that our founding fathers wanted instilled, was a strong militia of citizens. That's the approach that should be taken to counter the gun legislation, to counter those effects, to counter the massive war on drugs that leads to a lot of other corruption that occurs. So Sessions' ideology is completely out of date, and it's very unfortunate, because we had hoped that in fact some things were going to change with the Justice Department, but in fact he is on the federal level encouraging state attorney generals to ratchet up the attacks against legalization efforts of cannabis. And then you compound that with him wanting to give them the military equipment. It's not a good situation, B.
He's an idiot. He needs to go. I'm done with him. It's a moron. Yeah. Anyway, are we going to finally get our wish, CJ? Is it finally going to happen?
Now here is something that Jeff Sessions, could do very easily.
Oh, God forbid.
God forbid he do something that would actually help humanity and help. There is a petition. It's one of the best petition that's growing, on whitehouse.gov. So I encourage all of our listeners to go sign this. And there is a petition to declare George Soros as a terrorist, and to, in fact, to arrest him, to seize his assets. So this petition, and I'll read it real quick, is: whereas George Soros has willingly and on an ongoing basis attempted to destabilize and otherwise commit acts of sedition against the United States and its citizens, the DOJ should immediately declare George Soros and all of his organizations and staff members to be domestic terrorists, and to have all his personal and organization wealth and assets seized under civil asset forfeiture law. Not that I'm a big fan of that, but why can't something? Why? When you define terrorism, it's people using violence to gain political gain, right? So that's the definition of terrorism. And when you think of George Soros and his NGOs and the things that how he's trying to disrupt things, why isn't there a warrant for his arrest?
Right. Exactly. I mean, this guy fits. I mean, he is a foreign intelligence operative, number one, utilizing NGOs to foment sedition, discontent, and rioting, which are all illegal, to create overthrow and coup in countries, which he's done, Ukraine being the prime example. Soros would be a perfect idiot to take down. He is the biggest freaking, blip on the radar. He is somebody that we could really focus our attentions on. And you know what? More and more people need to sign that petition, because he needs to be taken out, bro. He needs to be taken out. He needs to be shut down, and he would be made an example of. But you and I know that it's not really the Department of Justice. It's the Department of Just Us.
Mm-hmm.
And just us simply means that justice is not for us. It's for them. Laws don't apply to them, and so cronies like Soros, who has his tentacles squeezing the testicles of many politicians, will not allow any harm. They will not allow any harm to come to Georgi Schwartz. Okay, so that's the problem that we're facing, man. I mean, you figure somebody would come. I mean, it's so friggin' obvious by now. I mean, you and I have been talking about Soros for a long time. And so many other people are doing the same thing. Prominent people. Nothing's being done to this guy. This
Nope.
guy is he's a terrorist, and he uses asymmetric means of terrorism to create terror. That's it. And people have died. I said forever. Every store that's been burned down, every life that's been lost in every single one of these riots, you could lay that cost at the foot of George Soros.
Yep, the cops that have been killed.
Yeah. Another potential massive hurricane. What's going on? It seems like what we said earlier, Irma is spinning.
Yeah, Irma is really picking up momentum. It was upgraded to a Category 3 hurricane, and it really is taking its eye at the eastern coast, potential of Florida, and it's intensifying. V. So this is something that hopefully they have the plans in place. Who knows why these things are happening right now, V. But this is definitely a potential to slam into the East Coast. So just something that we don't need right now.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the U.S. model, which is all that not so accurate, is showing an East Coast swing, possibly even a fishhook swing, where it just goes out into the water and does no damage. The more accurate European models show this thing dipping below Florida, cutting underneath the Caribbean, and coming up right into Houston again. So we shall see. Let's brace for it. Let's see what goes on. Another hit like this would actually wreck us and definitely create some economic havoc, no doubt. With that being said, Siege, we're at the end of the broadcast. We have a special guest coming on at 2 p.m. Who we got, Siege?
So we have Mr. X coming on.
Awesome. Mr. X is going to be coming on. He's going to be talking about privacy. He's going to be talking about your rights and how and what's out there in terms of how you can protect yourself and ensure your own civil liberties. That being said, folks, we're over and out. Take it away, CJ.